The history of stained glass. Stained glass, an art form of light and color, has captivated people for centuries. Found in cathedrals, palaces, and homes, it tells stories, inspires devotion, and transforms sunlight into vivid displays of beauty. But where did this art form begin? How did it evolve from simple colored glass to the breathtaking masterpieces we see today? The story of stained glass begins thousands of years ago, long before the towering Gothic cathedrals of Europe. The earliest forms of colored glass date back to ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, where artisans crafted small, decorative pieces using naturally occurring minerals and metals to create different hues. These early glassmakers learned that adding copper produced red, cobalt created blue, and gold could turn glass into brilliant shades of yellow. Though these civilizations didn't create windows from colored glass, their techniques laid the foundation for what would come later. By the time of the Roman Empire, glassmaking had advanced significantly. Romans developed the technique of glassblowing, allowing for the production of larger and thinner sheets of glass. Some Roman villas and bathhouses featured colored glass windows, often set into walls as small, translucent panels. These windows were simple compared to later masterpieces, but they demonstrated the potential of glass as both an artistic and functional medium. The true rise of stained glass as an art form began in the early medieval period, particularly in Christian churches. As Christianity spread across Europe, churches became centers of artistic expression. By the 7th century, stained glass windows began appearing in churches and monasteries, serving not only as decoration, but as a means of storytelling. Most people at the time were illiterate, and stained glass windows illustrated biblical scenes in a way that could be understood by all. The Golden Age of stained glass arrived with the Gothic cathedrals of the 12th and 13th centuries. Builders sought to create taller, more light-filled churches, and stained glass became a central feature of these structures. The development of ribbed vaults and flying buttresses allowed for the construction of massive windows, some spanning entire walls. The windows of Chartres Cathedral in France, completed in the early 13th century, remain some of the most stunning examples of medieval stained glass. These windows were not just artistic masterpieces, but theological expressions. Light itself was seen as divine, and stained glass transformed it into a heavenly spectacle. During this time, stained glass was created using a process that remained largely unchanged for centuries. Artisans first designed the window on a wooden board, then selected and cut colored glass pieces to match the design. Each piece was carefully shaped and assembled using strips of lead, which were soldered together to hold the glass in place. Finally, artists painted fine details onto the glass using special pigments that were fused into the surface through firing in a kiln. The Renaissance brought changes to stained glass art. As painting on canvas became more dominant, stained glass saw a decline in its traditional form. Artists began treating windows more like paintings, using larger pieces of glass with intricate painted details rather than relying on the bold colors and abstract patterns of medieval designs. While this allowed for more realism, some believed it took away from the purity and brilliance of earlier stained glass. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the popularity of stained glass waned further. Many medieval windows were removed, destroyed, or replaced with clear glass as architectural tastes changed. It wasn't until the 19th century that stained glass experienced a revival. The Gothic Revival movement, which sought to recapture the beauty of medieval architecture, reignited interest in stained glass. Artists and craftsmen studied medieval techniques, creating new windows that echoed the grandeur of their predecessors. In England, figures like Augustus Pugin played a key role in restoring and designing stained glass windows for churches and public buildings. Meanwhile, in the United States, Louis Comfort Tiffany revolutionized the medium. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Tiffany developed new methods of glassmaking, including Favril glass, which featured rich colors and swirling textures. Unlike traditional stained glass, which relied on lead outlines, Tiffany's work often used copper foil, allowing for more intricate and organic designs. His windows, lamps, and decorative panels brought stained glass into homes and everyday life, making it more accessible than ever before. In the 20th century, stained glass evolved once again. Modern artists experimented with abstract designs, geometric patterns, and non-traditional materials. Some churches embraced contemporary stained glass, incorporating bold, expressive forms that broke from medieval traditions while still celebrating the interplay of light and color. Today, stained glass continues to thrive. Whether in historic cathedrals, modern architecture, or artisan studios, the art of colored glass remains a testament to human creativity. It has survived the rise and fall of empires, changes in artistic trends, and the passage of centuries. And yet, its purpose remains the same: to transform ordinary light into something extraordinary.